Each victim met a terrifying death, trapped in a cold, watery grave. The brutality was beyond words. These were wicked crimes, carried out with cruel and pointless violence against two helpless people. On January 24, 2016, a murder case began that would horrify the entire nation of Australia. Corey Breton and Juliana Triscara were lured to a unit in Kingston. There, they were tortured and stuffed inside a metal toolbox. Their captors later dumped the box into Scrubby Creek Lagoon, where police eventually found their bodies. This crime would be remembered as the Toolbox murders. It was one of the most disturbing cases linked to drugs that the country had seen in years. To understand how this horror unfolded, we need to know who the victims were and how they ended up caught in such a deadly situation. Like many stories that end in tragedy, it all started with the drug world. Corey Breton, 28 years old, was a father to a young daughter. He lived a double life. On one hand, he had a home, a partner, and a child. On the other, he was involved in the Brisbane drug scene, constantly working to get and move drugs. His girlfriend, Miranda Parkinson, last saw him on January 20, 2016, when he dropped her off at the airport. Just 4 days later, he vanished without a trace. Corey had connections to a man named Stu Daniels. That connection would soon become deadly. Juliana Triscara, 31, also had her own secrets. She had moved from Romania and was trying to build a life in Australia. To her mother, Victoria Duger, Juliana was bright and full of life, but she too got tangled in the drug trade. She became another person walking dark streets, trying to earn just enough to survive. Even though not much is known about her final days, court documents later revealed that she and Corey were close. Their lives were connected both professionally and personally. They shared business, information, and risks. In the drug world, trust was everything, but trust could also get you killed. Unfortunately, Corey and Juliana made one fatal mistake. They crossed Stuart Daniels. He believed they had turned against him. That belief led to their horrific deaths. It all started with a single photograph. A store camera captured a picture of Daniels. Later, the store owner showed Corey the image and asked if he knew the man. Corey admitted he did and left. But what he did not know was that the store owner told Daniels about the conversation. Daniels panicked. He believed Corey and Juliana were about to report him to the police. He could not let that happen. Daniels brought in help. He contacted people he trusted. Davy Maru Jr., Tao, Trent Michael Thrupp, and Juan Nikito Cowan Walker were all part of his network. Together, they formed a plan to silence Corey and Juliana permanently. Their plan relied on one thing: trust. They would trick Corey and Juliana into showing up for what looked like a normal drug deal. Once they had them in the right spot, they would grab them, torture them, and if necessary, kill them. On January 24, 2016, they acted on that plan. Corey and Juliana arrived at a unit in Kingston, thinking they were walking into another day of drug business. Instead, they walked into a trap. Daniels was waiting, along with Tao, Thrupp, and Walker. All of them were ready to carry out a plan born from fear and rage. The moment Corey and Juliana entered, the men jumped them. Over the next several hours, the two were tortured both physically and mentally. Their hands and legs were tied with zip ties and tape. They were beaten, stabbed, and screamed at. The abuse seemed endless. One man, who later turned witness, Leland Harrington, told the court that Daniels was the one who led the attack. He wanted confessions. He wanted the victims to admit to a plot that never existed. Corey begged for his life. He screamed, "Help, I'm going to die," as the men forced him into a long metal toolbox. During the chaos, Juliana somehow managed to free herself. She tried to escape, but the men quickly chased her down. Harrington yelled out that she was getting away. The others grabbed her, pinned her to the ground, and tied her up again, this time even tighter. The two were now locked inside the toolbox. The men placed it in the back of a Toyota Hilux Ute, which belonged to two Orangi Thomas Tehiata. Then they drove off, planning to dump the box somewhere far away. Their first idea was to hide the box in a quarry, but when they arrived, they found the gates locked. So they turned around and headed for Scrubby Creek Lagoon near the Logan motorway. Once there, they added weight to the toolbox using tires and concrete blocks. but when they pushed the box into the water, it floated. That caused panic. Tahiata then fired a shotgun at the toolbox, trying to silence the cries coming from inside. But instead of stopping the screams, it made them worse. Someone then used a claw hammer to punch holes in the metal, letting the water rush in. Later, forensic experts said that the victims likely either drowned or suffocated, but due to how badly the bodies had decomposed, they could not be sure. Daniels believed that by killing Corey and Juliana, he would protect himself, but his plan failed. The murders did not erase the danger. Instead, they put him at the center of a growing police investigation. When Corey and Juliana did not return home, their families reported them missing. Police soon began connecting the dots. Crime scenes popped up all over Kingston. One was the unit where the pair had been tortured. Other spots included local waterways, places where bodies might have been dumped. Because Corey and Juliana were known in the drug world, police quickly turned their attention to Daniels and his crew. Witnesses helped. CCTV footage showed the victims arriving at the unit. Inside, forensic teams found blood and signs of a struggle. Then, on February 11th, 2016, divers found the toolbox at the bottom of Scrubby Creek Lagoon. It was weighed down with tires and blocks. Inside were the decayed bodies of Corey and Juliana, curled up in pain and silence. Within hours of that discovery, police arrested Daniels, Davy Malu Jr., Tao, and Thrupp. They were charged with murder. The condition of the bodies made it impossible to say for sure how they died. Experts could not tell if it was from suffocation, drowning, or the injuries they suffered earlier. But witnesses and physical evidence made one thing clear. Corey and Juliana were tortured, trapped, and left to die. One major piece of the case was digital evidence. Phone records and surveillance footage helped investigators build a timeline. Witnesses like Leland Harrington also gave detailed statements. He had been involved, but later changed his mind or wanted a lighter sentence. Either way, he talked. Still, the prosecution faced a challenge. Many of the witnesses were people with drug problems or mental health issues. The defense used that to try and cast doubt on their testimony. 9 people in total were charged in the case. Daniels, Tao, Thrupp, and Walker were seen as the main killers. The rest faced charges for helping after the fact. Although arrests were made quickly, the trial did not begin until 2021, 5 years later. In court, the prosecution laid out its case. They showed security video of the victims arriving at the unit. Phone records tracked the suspects to the lagoon. Harrington testified about warning the group when Juliana tried to escape. He also told the court about the Hilux ute used to carry the toolbox. The jury learned that Daniels was terrified of being betrayed. That fear turned deadly. Blood evidence, marks on the toolbox, and other physical clues supported what witnesses said. Harrington even described how Daniels slashed at Juliana's arms as she tried to keep the lid from closing. Even though no one could say for sure how they died, the court ruled that Corey and Juliana were victims of an unthinkable crime. Justice David Bodice called it cruel, pointless, and deeply sadistic. In March 2021, Daniels, Tao, and Thrupp were each sentenced to life in prison. None would be eligible for parole for 30 years. Walker, who ran off to New Zealand after the murders, was given 12 years for manslaughter. The court said he helped hide the evidence but did not take part in the killings inside the unit. That should have been the end of the story. But in July 2024, the case returned to the spotlight. Queensland's Court of Appeal overturned the murder convictions. The reason was not new evidence or a mistaken identity. It was due to problems with how the jury had been instructed. All 3 men were granted new trials. The court did not question the torture convictions. Those stayed in place, but the murder charges needed to be decided again. Even Walker's manslaughter charge was tossed out. The court said there was not enough proof that he had intended anyone to die. At the time of this video, the retrials have not yet taken place. What happened to Corey Breton and Juliana Trisqueru still stands out. Even in a world filled with drug violence, this case was especially cruel. These 2 were locked in a box, brutalized, and left to drown, all because one man lost control of his mind. Their deaths destroyed 2 families. Juliana's mother now lives with the memory of a daughter who died in fear and pain. Corey's daughter will grow up without her father. Even though the evidence was strong, even though witnesses came forward, Even though forensics and digital trails told a clear story, a legal mistake means that the men behind this may still escape full justice. That is the end of the story for now. Thanks to Nanup Tiger for suggesting this case. If you have another story you want covered, leave a comment below. If you found this video powerful, please like and subscribe. It helps a lot. See you next time and take care.